In Pennsylvania, two scientists are exploring a cave 1,000 feet beneath the Appalachian Trail. They break through layers of old rock and discover an uncharted cave system. Suddenly they hear a weird noise and are shocked to see a bunch of winged creatures fly out of the cavern. The explorers want to run away, but the creatures immediately surround them and kill them. In Montclair, Ally is finishing another school day and tries her best to ignore the mean guys that mock her for being deaf. Luckily she has her best friend Rob, who has learned sign language to communicate with her even if she can read lips. He's very supportive and walks her home while holding hands. When Ally makes it home, she's quickly welcomed by the family dog Otis and insulted by her brother Jude. Her mom Kelly scolds her because she's late but also teases her for her relationship with Rob. Suddenly Otis starts barking and Ally notices his hair is standing up, as if there was something dangerous out there. That night, Ally sees a bunch of helicopters flying over the area and some smoke in the distance. Then she finds her grandmother Lynn smoking, which she isn't supposed to do because of her weak lungs. Ally promises she won't tell Kelly. Afterward Ally watches her parents chat and reveals she lost her hearing and her paternal grandparents 3 years ago in a car accident, but she feels like her parents are the ones who lost the most. She goes to bed and checks a message from Rob on her table, which includes a video of a mysterious flock of flying creatures in the night sky. She's suddenly interrupted by her father Hugh, who also teases her over Rob. Ally then gets ready to sleep, but Otis is tense. Later in the middle of the night, Kelly wakes Ally up and brings her to the living room, where the family plus Hugh's best friend Glenn are watching the news. Many US cities are under attack and the danger is slowly spreading through the country. At first they say it's terrorists, but soon phone videos go viral showing mutilated bodies on the streets. One video shows a mother who has put tape over her son's mouth and she puts up a sign that says "Don't make noise." At that moment they hear an explosion and the family runs outside to see jets fly by. When they go back inside, the news are showing a new video from the exploration team confirming that some ancient creatures have escaped an old cave and are now attacking humans. Suddenly the TV changes to the emergency broadcast system, advising everyone to stay inside with locked doors and windows and not to make noise. Ally points out cities are the worst place to be because of the noise, so the family decides to pack up and leave the city. Glenn and Jude leave in one car and the others get in the second car with Otis. As they drive away, they notice smoke covering the whole city. In the subway tunnels, the train has stopped and a bunch of people are stuck inside trying to stay quiet. A baby then starts crying and the passengers take her away from the mother, intending to throw her out of the train. The mother desperately grabs her baby back and announces she's going with her. Mother and daughter leave the train and walk through the tunnel in silence. However, when the baby accidentally drops her pacifier, she cries again and the creatures quickly appear. The mother starts running with the baby but she isn't fast enough and the passengers in the train watch them get killed. Back to the family, they hear on the radio that the death toll has reached catastrophic numbers. Ally talks to Rob on her tablet and he explains his family decided to stay at home like the authorities recommended. Eventually the family stops at a gas station for supplies and Ally walks Otis so he can pee. Suddenly Otis starts barking at an armed man, who shoots at the sky and asks the family for their car. Hugh is ready to give him the keys, however Glenn shoots the guy in the leg and Otis jumps in to bite him. Then Glenn takes the man's weapon and the family leaves in their cars, not caring what may happen to the man. The tension and fear eventually make Jude so anxious that he chooses to change his cars to ride with his parents. Ally continues to follow the news on her tablet and learns they've named the creatures vesps after the Spanish word from wasps because of how they swarm. Suddenly Hugh hits the brakes, avoiding a crash at the last second. The road is full of traffic, so they decide to go off-road and away from civilization. They cross a gate and reach an isolated road while the radio keeps on mentioning all the states that are under attack. On her tablet, Ally sees terrifying images of all the tragedies in the country. After a few hours of driving, Glenn calls the others from his car, saying the road is getting difficult so he'll stop to clear the path. However, some deer suddenly come out of the woods and block the way, causing Glenn to try to dodge them and get off the road. His car rolls down a hill and lands on its roof, leaving Glenn trapped inside. Hugh runs to help but no matter how much he pulls, he can't open the door, and Glenn's leg is stuck so he can't be dragged out through the window. Kelly tries calling 911 but nobody answers, and Hugh tries the door again with a tool to no avail. Coming to terms with the situation, Glenn asks Hugh to bring him his guns and once he has them, he tells the family to leave without him. Hugh is hesitant and promises to return with help. The family gets back in the car and Otis starts barking. Ally notices his hair standing up and remembers the no noise warning, so she asks her dad to turn the engine off. Unfortunately it's too late and a vesp crashes against the car window. Otis barks even worse when he sees it, which in turn attracts even more vesps that keep hitting the windows. Lynn screams and is heard by Glenn, who can also hear the vesps' roars. To save the family, he starts shooting his guns, causing the vesps to surround his car and quickly kill him. Otis still won't stop barking even when Hugh tries to calm him down, so Hugh has no choice. Ignoring his daughter's pleas, he pushes Otis out of the car and lets the vesps kill him. A few hours later, the family is still in the car. The place is quiet but there are still a few vesps around, so the family is afraid to start the car. They can't stay there forever though, so Hugh very carefully leaves the car to investigate. At that moment Lynn has an asthma attack and the few seconds that it takes to grab her inhaler are enough for a Vesp to land on top of the car. Hugh slowly grabs the tool he dropped earlier and throws it ahead, so the Vesp goes after it without even noticing him. After the Vesp flies away, Hugh returns to the car and uses sign language to explain the creature's haunt by sound because they're blind. The family agrees to turn off all devices and only speak using sign language. Then Hugh asks Lynn for her lighter, shocking Kelly by revealing her mother smokes. Hugh goes to Glenn's car and after saying goodbye to the body, he lights the car on fire. The Vesps immediately surround the burning vehicle and they die when the car explodes. Now the family can keep on traveling on foot. The long walk makes Lynn feel worse, so she has to be careful not to make noise whenever she has trouble breathing and uses her inhaler. The family agrees to stop to rest and Hugh uses the chance to apologize to Ally for what happened to Otis, explaining he had no choice. Lynn wants Kelly to finally tell the kids that she has lung cancer, but Kelly refuses to make the day more depressing. Using his binoculars, Jude sees a house nearby and the family heads there. Night has fallen by the time they reach the fence, and as soon as Hugh tries to open it he accidentally rings a bell. Soon a Vesp lands on the fence at the same time the homeowner comes out, threatening to shoot any intruders. It seems her isolation has kept her unaware of the situation, and her voice immediately attracts a bunch of Vesps that push her into the well to quickly kill her. The family decides to look for an alternate entrance and finds a drainage pipe nearby. Hugh goes first and crawls through the pipe, not noticing a snake hiding in the dirt. When he makes it to the other side, he enters the house and confirms it's empty before waving at his family to tell them to come in. The group starts crawling through the pipe too and this time the snake comes out, hissing at them. The pipe causes an echo and a Vesp hears the hiss, so it flies in to capture the snake before it can attack. At the same time a second Vesp goes to the other end and attacks Kelly, wounding her leg. Hearing her screaming, Hugh rushes to activate the wood chipper and all the Vesps fly right into the machine, immediately getting killed. Afterward the family carries Kelly into the house. Lynn used to be a nurse, so she cuts Kelly's pants to take care of the wound, which is more serious than they expected. After Kelly falls asleep, Lynn and Hugh share a drink. Outside, the Vesps come back to the well to keep on feeding on the dead homeowner. Upstairs, Ally manages to use her tablet to get in contact with Rob, who appears disheveled and covered in dirt. He tells her his parents are dead and Ally tries to invite him to join her in the cabin, but at that moment the connection ends. The next morning, Ally sees on the news that many people are seeing the Vesps as a religious symbols and are even burning atheists down. Lynn checks on Kelly's wound and notices it's getting worse, so she tells the others that she needs antibiotics to survive. After getting a scythe from the basement, Hugh gets ready to leave with Ally. Jude wants to come along, but Hugh tells him to protect his grandmother. Then Hugh and Ally open the front gate just a little bit while making sure not to trigger the bell again. Hugh fastens the door to the ground to avoid any other noises and the duo carefully leaves through the narrow gap. There are lots of Vesps flying in the area, but the duo ignores them as they walk to the nearest town. On the way, they find dead bodies with wounds that indicate other humans did it. When they make it to town, they find it empty with bloodstains everywhere, not noticing the Reverend watching them from afar. The pharmacy's front door is locked, so Hugh and Ally have to enter through the back. Inside they're hit by the rotting smell of the half-eaten bodies of people who were killed while they were trying to take supplies. While Hugh grabs the antibiotics, Ally takes a closer look at the bodies and discovers the Vesps have laid eggs inside them. Suddenly a baby Vesp breaks the egg and splashes fluid on Ally's face, making her gasp. 3 big Vesps hear her and land on the shelves, waiting for another noise. Ally looks around and sees a fire alarm, so Hugh asks for a mop. After Ally quietly hands him one, Hugh lights it on fire and raises it to activate the alarm. The echoing noise and the water confuse the Vesps, allowing Hugh and Ally to safely leave the pharmacy. On their way out of town they find the Reverend, who follows them when they try to avoid him. To communicate quietly, the Reverend shows them his writing on his notebook, asking them to join his flock called the Hushed. Ally and Hugh turn the offer down and walk away while the Reverend hisses at them, revealing his tongue was removed. Soon the duo returns to the house and the medicine helps Kelly feel better. Hugh tries to get more news from the TV, but there's no signal. Ally tells him the last thing she learned from her tablet: CNN is broadcasting from a bunker and their signal is weak. Also the Vesps don't like intense cold and there are pictures of them dead in the snow. This means people above the Arctic Circle are surviving. On the other hand, entire regions of the country are being wiped off the map. These areas are called the Gray because they've been disconnected from all technology. Jude tries to keep himself entertained with cards and Hugh carves a steak for him so he can also fight. One afternoon, the Reverend appears outside the house with a group of people who are all missing their tongues. Hugh comes out and asks them to leave the family alone, but the Reverend keeps asking him to join them and mentions that Ally is fertile. Furious, Hugh brings out a weapon to threaten them, but the Reverend knows he won't shoot because the noise will attract the Vesps. After the group shares a silent prayer, they leave. Sometime later Ally gets a message from Rob, who he tells her he's heading to the cold north where survivors have built a refuge. Unfortunately, before Rob can give her directions, the signal is cut off again. In the middle of the night, Hugh hears a noise and the family checks outside to discover a girl waiting by the door. They let her in and ask her questions, only to discover she's missing her tongue. The girl was sent by the Reverend, and when she opens her jacket, she reveals a bunch of phones tied around her body. At the same time, Ally notices a shadow in her window and takes a closer look to find a phone has been taped to the glass. Suddenly that phone and the ones around the girl start ringing, causing the Vesps to start flying toward the house and crashing against the windows. Hugh takes all the phones from the girl and dumps them in water, effectively silencing them. A Vesp manages to break through Ally's window, but she runs out of the room and locks the door just in time. Once all the phones stop ringing, it looks like the Vesps are about to give up. However, another phone is found in another window making noise as well. Since the Vesps are close to breaking the glass, Hugh and Jude try to block the window while the women run to hide in the basement. There are 3 members of the Hushed waiting for them there, and they immediately jump on Ally to capture her. Kelly tries to attack them with a hammer, but they easily push her away and escape with her daughter plus the little girl. Lynn goes after them and pushes them to the ground. At the same time, Ally bites their hands to make them drop her. As Ally runs away, Lynn screams, attracting a bunch of Vesps that immediately kill her and most of the kidnappers. The family comes out and cries for Lynn, but unfortunately the Reverend and more Hushed show up, quickly capturing Ally again. Desperate to save her, Kelly, Hugh, and Jude go after the group, not hesitating to stab any Hushed that dares to fight back. When Ally is freed, she also joins the fight and hits a man on the head with a big rock. Hugh tackles the Reverend and tries to choke him, only for the Reverend to stab him with a knife. Then Hugh retaliates with a headbutt, knocking the guy down. After Kelly kills the last man, the only standing Hushed are the little girl and a woman, who go away in fear. Kelly removes the knife from Hugh's wound and he uses his weapon to beat the Reverend to death. The next day, the family starts traveling north, only stopping at nights to rest. Eventually they make it up a mountain and find the refuge by following signs left by the survivors. Their ally reunites with Rob, who teaches her how to use a bow, and now they hunt Vesps together when they get too close to their new home. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.